Joe Biden has bombed Syria again, right? The first strike was in February. One of the first things he does, right? One of his first military actions, he goes and bombs Syria. And now he's bombed Syria again, right? So on June 28th. And are we surprised? No. Are we disgusted? Yes, as always. You know, I think most people with a brain and with a conscience would be disgusted, but it's especially it's especially upsetting when you see your birthplace, the country you are born in, being turned into, into a battleground, into a battlefield by one warmonger after another. So let's go through the details of here so I can break down what happened to you. And then, of course, we'll dive further into that. So just to give you a recap of the situation, okay? So this is June 28th from Sana, okay? 4 members of the Iraqi Popular Mobilization Forces. So you can abbreviate them either as PMF or PMU, right? In Arabic, they're known as Hashd al-Sha'bi. 4 members of the PMF were martyred and 3 others were wounded in an American aerial attack that targeted their positions near Al-Qa'im crossing inside Iraqi territory. So let me just show you where this is. This is on the border between Syria and Iraq, right? This is the cradle of civilization that you're looking at right here, literally. So this is the border crossing where it happened, right? There's a little town over there. And a security source at the Popular Mobilization Forces told Sana correspondent in Baghdad that the American occupation forces launched an aerial attack in the early hours of this morning, 28th, against positions of the PMF near the Qa'im crossing on the Iraqi-Syrian border, okay? So you had 4 of them killed and 3 others injured. Earlier, Sana's reporter in Deir ez-Zor, so Deir ez-Zor is a province governorate in Syria, right? So we're talking about over here, this area, that warplanes believed to be American attacked residential houses near the Syrian-Iraqi border in Abu Kamal countryside with missiles at about 1 a.m., indicating that the aggression caused, according to the sources, the martyrdom of a child and the injury of 3 civilians, in addition to material damage, right? So the border area with Iraq in the eastern region has been subjected in previous times to more than one attack by the American occupation Air Force, which works to undermine the efforts to eliminate the remnants of Daesh, ISIS terrorists. Yeah, so this is completely correct. So as we said, what previous attempts are these? Well, Joe Biden himself, right, in February. And, the Americans, for years, right, they've been launching airstrikes in Syria without permission and saying that they're fighting ISIS. Okay, well let's look at this claim that they're fighting ISIS, because they even have a Twitter account, right? It's very funny that you have an occupation, an illegal military occupation with a Twitter account, and it's verified too, right? So what do the Americans say? They say, well, we're protecting Syria's oil, whatever that means. Stealing. You're stealing it. And they say that we're fighting against ISIS, against Daesh. First of all, where does Daesh come from? Who invaded Iraq and created a power vacuum and led to all of these nasty people coming out of the woodwork and taking over? And you had all these bloodbaths for years and years, and then it spills over into Syria, right? So, I mean, at the same time that they're trying to launch regime change against Syria, of course this is going to spill over from Iraq. Of course. Because Iraq itself now is unstable, has a power vacuum, etc. You've taken your hand off the lid, right? You've let all these thugs and various extremists, etc. come out. And, of course, who funded Al-Qaeda? Who created Al-Qaeda in the first place, right? Who was funding the Mujahideen? The Americans. They know all these people, right? Isn't it funny how all these terrorists, Baghdadi, Zarqawi, they've all been in American detention before. They always know who they are. It's so weird, right? They always know these people, and then they just let them out. It's so odd, right? Anyway, they're not fighting ISIS, because when you come and you bomb the PMF, the Popular Mobilization Forces, or the PMU, whatever you want to call them, in Arabic, they're Hashd al-Sha'bi. When you bomb them, you are helping ISIS. You are helping Daesh. Because the ones who actually helped to defeat Daesh and turn it into what it is today, which is, it's nothing compared to a few years ago. If a few years ago you looked at the map of Syria, half of it was black, right? But half of it was under ISIS control. And the ones who helped take back major cities in Iraq and Syria, this is the PMU, the PMF, right? The Hashd al-Sha'bi. But they don't call them that in the Western media. What do they call them? Well, let's take a look what they call them. You already know what's coming, man. You already know. So this is from the Washington Post. U.S. targets Iran-backed militias in Iraq, Syria strikes. They always call them Iran-backed militias as if these things take their orders from Tehran or something. Look, man, let's get something straight. The PMU are integrated into the Iraqi armed forces officially, right? They're made up mostly of Iraqis, not Iranians, as the title will have you believe. I can assure you, most people who look at this, they would assume that it's just Iranians running around fighting in Iraq or Syria. And even then, by the way, they have permission to be there, right? So when you hear about Iranian troops, Hezbollah, they have permission to be in Syria because they're there to kick ISIS ass. They're there to kick Al-Qaeda's ass, right? At the invitation of the government. The Americans do not have permission. The British special forces do not have permission. They are there illegally. The Turkish do not have permission. They're occupiers. You understand the difference? So in the media, the Western media, they call them Iran-backed forces, Iran-backed militias, because they can't tell you that the Hashd al-Sha'bi is a resistance movement. It's a resistance coalition. It's a resistance force. Why? Because if you say that, then people would be, well, what are they resisting? And then the answer to that is the fucking Americans and their proxies like Al-Qaeda and ISIS. That's what they're resisting, right? But of course, they can't tell you that. It's just, oh, Iran-backed militias. What does that mean? Why can't you just say their name? Why are you so afraid of saying their name? Just say their name. Why? This is a clear sign. This tells you that the media, in case you weren't aware, the media is a mouthpiece for the state, right? You know how they talk about state media in Arab countries or African countries or Latin American countries that they've targeted for regime change? Oh, look at them. They have state media so authoritarian and totalitarian, blah, blah, blah. This is state media. This is state media. Have you ever seen the Washington Post or the New York Times actually not like a war? Like from the beginning. I don't mean come back 10 years later and say, oopsie, we were wrong. No. Like from the beginning and actually scrutinize the government. You'll never see that because they're really state media, right? So let me show you over here. Let me show you over here this the statement that was released from the DOD, from the Department of Defense, right? So this was read by, it's from John Kirby. Right? Yes, these are all former Obama alumni. So let me read this for you, right? This is June 27th. At President Biden's direction, U.S. military forces earlier this evening conducted defensive precision airstrikes against facilities used by Iran-backed militia groups. Iran-backed militia groups in the Iraq-Syria border region. The targets were selected because these facilities are utilized by Iran-backed militias that are engaged in unmanned aerial vehicle UAV attacks against U.S. personnel and facilities in Iraq. Specifically, the U.S. strikes targeted operational and weapons storage facilities at 2 locations in Syria and 1 location in Iraq. Okay, both of which lie close to the border between those countries. Several Iran-backed militia groups, including Kata'ib Hezbollah, and by the way, Kata'ib Hezbollah, do you know, just this is so important. We already covered how they took down Press TV, right? You see how these things are coinciding? So 1 week, the Biden administration is attacking, as they say, Iran-backed media or Iran media. And what did they say? They say it's controlled by Kata'ib Hezbollah, 3 of the outlets, and the others are controlled by the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, and specifically the Quds Force. So according to them, I'm special forces at Press TV. Impressive, right? So just pay attention, right? So just going back to this one, what are they saying here? In this readout, they're saying, oh, look, we targeted these weapons caches and we killed all these militias. But over here, I mean, in Syria, they killed a child. They killed a fucking child and injured 3 civilians. So what is going on here? What is going on here? And in Iraq, right, they martyred, they killed 4 young men from the PMF, from the PMU. Those are, these are resistance fighters. They're from the PMU. Why won't you call them properly by their names? That's so weird, right? And defensive. I mean, defensive, this is the best part, right? This is the best part. So he says here, As demonstrated by this evening's strikes, President Biden has been clear that he will act to protect U.S. personnel. Given the ongoing series of attacks by Iran-backed groups targeting U.S. interests in Iraq, the president directed further military action to disrupt and deter such attacks. Look at this one. We are in Iraq at the invitation of the government of Iraq for the sole purpose of assisting the Iraqi security forces in their efforts to defeat ISIS. No, you're not. No, you're not. After Trump murdered Haj Qasim, so General Soleimani, and Abu Mahdi. Who is Abu Mahdi? He's a commander in the PMU. Right? The same forces here we're talking about. After Trump murdered them, he assassinated them in cold blood in a drone strike. The Iraqi parliament voted to expel all foreign troops who, again, did you forget about 2003? You invaded the fucking country. How are you there at the invitation? No one invited you. You invaded Iraq in 2003, you fucking liar. That was just yesterday. Do you take people for dunces? You're an occupier. You're occupying Iraq illegally. You're not there at anyone's fucking invitation. And just last year, the Iraqi parliament is saying, get out. Get out. And look at this. As a matter of international law, right? Because the United States always respects international law. The United States acted pursuant to its right of self-defense. Self-defense. How the fuck are you on someone else's land? Occupying their land for 2 decades, and you claim self-defense. You, motherfucker. Do you see this map? Do you see this map over here? This is the United States over here. This is Syria, and this is Iraq. How the fuck are you over here and claiming self-defense? So what is it if you're in the U.S. and you get attacked? What is that? That's self-defense? What is the degree of bullshit here that we're dealing with? How are you over here and claiming self-defense? No. Listen to me, man. The PMU, which you just bombed, they are engaged in self-defense. You know why? Because it's their fucking land. Because they're Iraqis. Because you are occupying them and they don't want you in their land. They don't want you anymore. They never wanted you. They are engaged in self-defense. You, an American or a Brit, you cannot be engaged in self-defense. You know why? Because this is not a colony. This is not a territory. This is not a state that belongs to you. This is on the other side of the globe. So do not come here with this horse manure and talk about self-defense. You fucking piece of shit. I want to show you Blinken, right? Secretary of State Blinken, what he says.
With regard to the strike last night, at the President's direction, U.S. military forces conducted airstrikes against facilities used by Iranian-backed militia groups in the Iraq-Syria border region. They targeted facilities used by groups responsible for recent attacks on U.S. interests in Iraq. And given these ongoing attacks that you referred to by Iran-backed groups targeting our interests in Iraq, he directed further military action, we'd taken action previously, to disrupt and deter these attacks. We took necessary, appropriate, deliberate action that is designed to limit the risk of escalation, but also to send a clear and unambiguous deterrent message. This action in self-defense to do what's necessary to prevent further attacks.
Bullshit.
I think sends a very important and strong message, and I hope very much that it is received by those who are intended to receive it.
Man, he talks about it like he sent a bouquet of flowers and a box of chocolate. I really hope that it's received by those who,
Mr. President,
were intended to receive it, right? On the receiving end of the thing that they're supposed to receive. He's so tired of bullshitting everyone. Even he is tired of it. Yes, that must be very arduous, an arduous task, right? So once again, with the self-defense nonsense, right? America is always the victim. America is always the victim. Israel is always the victim. Britain is always the victim too, right? The West is always the victim. And everyone else, they're terrorists. They're terrorists. What are you talking about? Of course they're terrorists. We're defending ourselves on your land, right? We're occupying you in self-defense, right? We're stealing your oil in self-defense. Hey, get away. This is self-defense. We're taking the oil. Goodbye. It's self-defense. the fucking stones on these people. Like, they got no shame, right? They have no shame after all they've done to the Iraqis. Never mind Syria, right? After all they've done to the Iraqis, they have no shame. They just sit there one after the other, one Secretary of State after the other, one goddamn president after the other, one goddamn defense secretary after the other. Every fucking spokesperson, one after the other, lying their goddamn mouth off. One after the other. Another fucking presidency of bullshit. Another one of bullshit. One after the other. The same crap. Dude, I could give you that text, a transcript of what Blinken just said. You would have no clue who's talking. Is it someone from the Bush era? Is it someone from Obama's administration? I don't know. I don't know. They all sound alike. Copy paste, copy paste. And then here, Joe Biden, of course, right? Because he respects not just international law, as you clearly saw. He also respects domestic law in the United States, right? So pursuant to the War Powers Resolution of 1973, which was, as some of you may recall, a checks and balances that was brought into play by Congress after they were outraged that Nixon was going around behind their back and bombing other countries than Vietnam, right? Because Vietnam was okay, right? But no, you bomb other countries. Oh no, now we need a War Powers Resolution. So Joe Biden, he sends a statement, right, to the Speaker of the House. Okay. So what does he say? This is on June 29th, right? He says the same crap that we just read to you, and he cites recent rocket attacks on Balad Air Base, Baghdad Diplomatic Support Center, right? And all of these various incidents as supposed justification, okay? He says, these attacks have injured and threatened the lives of United States and coalition personnel. I directed the June 27 strikes in order to protect and defend the safety of our personnel, to degrade and disrupt the ongoing series of attacks against the United States and our partners, and to deter the Islamic Republic of Iran and Iran-backed militia groups from conducting or supporting further attacks on the United States personnel facilities, right? So again, they're the victim, right? No, we're not going to talk about an occupation. No. We're here to defend the Iraqis. We're fighting ISIS, which we created. We're here to help you, to take your oil. You can't take all that oil for yourself. You need help, right? We're here. We're your friends. Oh, and you see those Iranians? They're the baddies, right? Everyone who's resisting us, they're terrorists. Even the media, right? Even the media, they shut down Press TV and said they're run by the IRGC, by Kata'ib Hezbollah, and that therefore this is counterterrorism to silence foreign media. How the fuck do you sit there and with a straight face and tell me that this is not the goddamn same as George Bush, as Donald Trump, as Obama, as everyone before that? How do you sit there with a straight face and tell me that this is not authoritarianism, that this is fucking insane? So he says here that he's protecting you. Apparently he's protecting you, right? This is about United States national security and foreign policy interests. And someone on Twitter, you'll forgive me, I forgot their name, said, I don't have any damn interest in Iraq. Yeah, no, you don't. He says the United States took this necessary and proportionate action consistent with international law. No, it isn't. And in the exercise of the U.S. inherent right of self-defense as reflected in Article 51 of the United Nations Charter. Okay, once again, I think people are having a little bit of an issue with geography over here. Do you see I have a lovely globe behind me, a globe lamp? Okay, but it's okay. I know it's a bit blurred out, so I'm going to pull up this awesome map over here so you can get the picture. This is the United States, okay? Over here on the left, yes, and then here is Syria and Iraq. On the other side of the planet, on the other side of the giant fucking ocean and the sea. Do you get that? So if you are from here, you can't go over here and claim self-defense. That doesn't work. That's not how this works, okay? I wrote a whole article on Substack, Bipartisan Murder, after Biden bombed Syria the first time. In February, explaining all of this, the legal rationale, although again, it's more illegal rationale rather. Yes, I went into the AUMF, into the War Powers Resolution, all of this. Go read that on the Substack. Okay, RichardMedhurst.substack.com. It's called Bipartisan Murder. I delved into all this crap, and it's the same they're using it this time around. It's the same logic. It's the same crap. So let's look at Article 51 over here. Okay. It says nothing in the present charter shall impair the inherent right of individual or collective self-defense if an armed attack occurs against a member of the United Nations until the Security Council has taken measures necessary to maintain international peace and security. All right? Measures taken by members, meaning member states, in the exercise of this right of self-defense shall be immediately reported to the Security Council, else should not in any way affect the authority and responsibility of the Security Council under the present charter to take at any time such action as it deems necessary in order to maintain or restore international peace and security. So the guys here is that you can't just take things into your own hands. You must also go through the UN Security Council. That's why it's been put into place. Now, unfortunately, there ain't much respect for the UN Security Council. Why? Because it's being run by imperialists, right? You have veto power with the UK, with France, China, Russia, and the US. Right, so holding Israel accountable, forget about it. Complying with enforcing any of the UN resolutions on Israel, forget about it. When they tried, in 2003 when they invaded Iraq, they tried to do it through the UN, and when it didn't work, they're just like, okay, screw it, we're just going to invade Iraq anyway. So they don't really they don't respect international law. And Biden was one of those people who pushed that war. He has no respect for international law. He's a lying piece of shit. All right, and he's forgotten about Article 2 over here, right? So again, I've outlined all of these in the article, okay? So while Biden cites Article 51 under the UN, the United Nations Charter as the U.S. right to self-defense, one has to wonder how Article 51 would even begin to apply in this context. Syria has not attacked the United States, nor are the two nations at war, at least officially. Moreover, if the targets were so-called Iranian-backed militias, the same rationale still applies, right? So meaning that they're not a state, they're not a member state, essentially, because that's the argument the Americans try to make. They say, well, we're not bombing a member state, even though it's taking place on another member state's land. These bombings also violate Article 2.4 of the United Nations Charter, which asserts Syria's sovereignty and prohibits use of force against other member states. Let's take a look, right? So I think in 404 on me, I pulled up another one. All members shall refrain in their international relations from the threat or use of force against the territorial integrity or political independence of any state or in any other manner inconsistent with the purposes of the United Nations. So you've already violated that, one of the most basic fundamental pillars of international law, of peace, and the UN Charter. So you want to come here and tell me that you respect international law? This is bollocks. This is bollocks, right? And so what does he say over here, Biden? He says that I am providing this report as part of my efforts to keep the Congress fully informed, consistent with the War Powers Resolution, okay? Additional information is provided in a classified annex. So what is the War Powers Resolution? The War Powers Resolution, again, I told you from 73. So if a U.S. president goes and attacks another country, as he just did with Syria and Iraq, he has 48 hours to notify Congress, right? Which he did. Here it is, right? This is him informing Congress. And then Congress can decide, okay, well, are we okay with this? Right? If they're okay with it, they can, the president is allowed to keep troops in for another 60 days. They can approve that. And, it's basically a mechanism to make sure that presidents can't just go and start wars whenever they feel like it, right? Which apparently makes no difference, because when you have a War Powers Resolution, but the Congress is filled full of warmongers, well, it doesn't really make much difference then if you comply with it or not, because they're going to approve all of your crap. I mean, just look at what it says in the War Powers Resolution. It's quite short, huh? They say that the constitutional powers of the president as commander-in-chief to introduce the U.S. armed forces into hostilities or into situations where imminent involvement in hostilities is clearly indicated by the circumstances are exercised only pursuant to 1, a declaration of war, 2, specific statutory authorization, or 3, a national emergency created by attack upon the United States, its territories or possessions, or its armed forces, right? So, number one, there was no declaration of war. Biden has not declared war on Syria, although he has, in effect he has, right? So, but not officially, at least, according to their own laws. Number two, that's about an AOMF, an authorization for the use of military force. There isn't one for Syria. There isn't one. Number three, a national emergency created by attack upon the United States. What national emergency? That's not even if you look at the incidents that he cited in his letter, right, when he's informing Congress, that's not a national emergency. This is absurd. So he's not even complying with his own malarkey, right? He cites the War Powers Resolution. He's not even following it. But it doesn't matter. You know why it doesn't matter? Because once again, Congress is filled with scum. In the Democratic Party, in the Republican Party, they're all scum. The Congress, the U.S. Congress, this building, Capitol, this is what it exports. It exports war, terrorism, suffering, sanctions, death. That's what comes out of the Capitol building. That's what comes out of that building. And the White House, evidently, right? So it doesn't matter that he lies in it because they're not going to hold him accountable. They all want the war. They're totally fine with the wars. This letter, right, to Speaker of the House, to Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi knows that Bush lied about Iraq, and she knew he was lying about it before the invasion. She admits this in 2019, just openly. And she says, no, I didn't want to impeach him. Even though people wanted me to impeach him, I didn't want to impeach him. She doesn't give a shit. No one gives a crap. When Trump bombed Syria, right, they weren't mad that he did it over lies about the OPCW, that this completely made up chemical gas attack that was used. There you go. It was used as a pretext to bomb Syria. They didn't even give the OPCW time to do the investigation. They didn't care about that. They cared that, oh, well, look, he's the Mad King, right? They call him the Mad King. And he went behind Congress's back. And this is unacceptable. But apparently, when Biden does it, they don't give a shit. It's okay for Biden to go behind Congress's back, right? He's not going behind their back. They know, I know, for all intents and purposes, they know damn well. There's no problem with him informing Congress because they all love war. They're all warmongers. Now, Biden over here, he doesn't cite the AUMF of 2002. AUMF is authorization for the use of military force, right? This is the piece of toilet paper that has caused millions, of injuries and deaths in Iraq, right? So what is it? It's basically Congress giving itself authorization, right? Giving the president authorization to go to war. It's the U.S. giving itself permission to go to war, as if U.S. law is international law, right? Again, I think people need to get this through their heads. Even if every single person in Congress votes to declare war on Syria, and I'm pretty sure they all do deep down, it doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean you can just go and start a war. That's your Congress. Outside of your borders, your laws don't mean shit. I know this is tough to grasp for Americans, but outside of here, it doesn't mean anything. You know why? Because that's not the U.S., right? Syria is not the U.S. Iraq is not the U.S. So I don't care if your Congress declares war or not. I don't care if Biden follows your AUMF, or your war powers resolution or not. You have no right to come to Syria. You have no right to come to Iraq. This is as simple as that. It's as simple as that. You have no right to be attacking Iran-backed militias or whatever you want to call them. I don't care what you call them. I don't care what you call Hashd al-Shabi or the PMF. I don't care if you call them Iran-backed militias. You have no business with Iran-backed militias. So go back to the U.S. Stealing oil, killing people, seizing their resources, starving them. How dare you speak of self-defense? What the fuck is that? How can you speak of self-defense in this situation when you are the oppressor? So, when they come here and they want to talk about defensive measures and defending their interests, the United States has no interests in Syria and Iraq except chaos and stealing resources and keeping people divided. They want to make sure that the Arab states are divided. They want to make sure that Iraq stays under occupation so they can be a thorn in Iran's side, right? And a thorn in Syria's side. They want to keep bombing Syria because this is what Israel does every other week. They want to keep Syria in chaos because Syria is one of the last socialist, independent Arab countries that still supports the Palestinian cause, that still will not recognize Israel, will never normalize ties with Israel, that still stands up for the oppressed, for the imperialists, the victims of imperialism. Syria is a part of the axis of resistance. So they want to keep Syria under attack. Iraq has the Hashd al-Shabi. Who are they attacking? The resistance. This is the resistance, al-Muqawamah. The Hashd al-Shabi is the resistance. Syria is the resistance. Iran is the resistance. So that's why they're attacking them, because they resist imperialism. They are the victims of imperialists, and they stand up against colonialism, against this crap. That's why they're attacking them. There's no difference. There's no difference here between Trump and Biden. Trump cites the AUMF of 2002 to kill Soleimani. They don't give a shit. They don't give a crap. You know what they've done now? Look at this. Look what the House has done now. They finally voted to repeal the 2002 Iraq war powers, which, as I'm saying, it's the AUMF of 2002. Okay, what next? What next? Is the Senate going to do it? Is Biden, is Biden going to care? Biden isn't even using the AOMF to bomb Iraq. He just did it now, and he just bombed Syria again, and he bombed Syria in February. He didn't cite the AOMF. He just cited the War Powers Resolution because he knows that he can lie about it in his report to Congress because everyone in Congress loves war. They're all fucking bloodthirsty pieces of shit. It doesn't matter what legal lingo they use, what language they use, what goddamn clause they use. It doesn't matter. These people are fucking thugs. They're murderers. They're evil. That's what they are. It's organized crime at the state level. That's what it is. It's organized crime at the state level. So don't get caught up in this. Oh, well, Biden, he's protecting U.S. interests. And, these were defensive measures and proportionate. And, he's just defending, it's self-defense. Because this is what they tell you on MSNBC and this is what they tell you on Fox. Right? There's no difference here. There's no difference between Biden and Trump. They just they'll just use a different legal justification inside the U.S., but it's still a violation of international law. They're still killing people. They're still murdering the resistance, and they're helping ISIS. They're helping Daesh. Dude, when Trump assassinated Haj Qasem, when he assassinated General Soleimani and Abu Mahdi, who again is a commander in the PMU, you had these jihadists openly celebrating and thanking Trump. Because that's who he's helping. America is ISIS Air Force. Do you understand this? This attack by Biden now on Iraq and Syria, his attack in February on Syria, Trump's assassination of Soleimani, this all serves the same purpose. It's to weaken the axis of resistance, and it's meant to give ISIS, to give Daesh a chance to resurge and to keep these countries in chaos because they will not bend the knee to the U.S. These motherfuckers are on the same side. There is no difference between Trump and Biden. So all you fucking assholes who are coming here and spouting this, it's harm reduction, it's the lesser of two evils. Are you there? Are you there when the bombs drop? Is that your fucking birthplace when the bombs drop? Who the fuck are you to fucking speak about harm reduction when that's not your country being bombed? Who the fuck are you to talk about lesser of two evils when you don't have to face any of that evil? Do you have family under sanctions? Is that your country being bombed? Who the fuck are you? You have blood on your hands. You voted for Trump, you have blood on your hands. You voted for Biden, you have blood on your hands. Fucking shame on you. You know this shit deep down. You fucking know it. You fucking know it. Imperialist scum. So don't come fucking lecturing me or anyone else about lesser of two evils. You imperialist neo-colonial motherfucker. Eat shit. Fuck you. This is the resistance. And anyone who is attacking the resistance is helping Daesh, is helping the colonialists, is helping the fucking imperialist powers of the West. That's what it is. Don't get it twisted, man. It's that simple. It is that simple. So don't come here with Iran-backed militias and I don't care this mumbo-jumbo, what fucking names they call it. They attacked the Hashd al-Shabi. They attacked the PMU. They attacked the Syrian army. They attacked Iran. They are attacking the resistance. They are upholding imperialism. That's it. It's that simple. Biden, Trump, I don't care. These are just different faces of the same machine. It's the same war machine. Stop letting the media fuck your brain and turn it into mush. It's that simple. This is the situation. This is the reality. Here, in the words of Glenn, at least Biden ordered bombing raids on Syria again and Iraq for the first time with dignity, normalcy, compassion, diversity, with pain in his heart, and the proper comportment we expect from the president. Voting matters. Yeah, voting matters because you can get an all-matte military green B-52, or you can get one with, a pride flag. Yes, she can, Hillary sticker or Black Lives Matter, and you can have bombs dropping either way. It's just ordering a new skin for your aircraft. That's all it is, man. Right? That's all it is. Unbelievable. I told you this crap. I told you months ago, Biden is not going to be any different from Trump in every way possible, right? You're not getting a $15 minimum wage. He is not going to do shit for progressives. I'm a progressive. What the fuck is that? He's going to continue bombing Iraq, continue bombing Syria, continue putting sanctions on Venezuela, continue supporting, this puppet Guaido. Every single thing that Trump did, he has kept, and he continues it. You people are such dunces. I mean, have some goddamn self-respect, man. Have some self-respect. How do you sit there with a straight face and talk about this shit? How fucking ignorant can you be? How can you be working in politics and you don't know this basic shit 101? Man, you got kids in the street. Go to any Arab country, actually in most countries in the world. Ask any kid in the street. They will tell you themselves how every U.S. president is the same. They're all bastards. They're corrupt. They're warmongers. They're pieces of shit. Everyone, Democrat, Republican makes no difference. Even kids know that. How the fuck you sit there acting all serious? Oh yeah, I'm a political commentator, bro. And you don't know this shit? Get the fuck out of my face, man. You got 200 years of catching up to do. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. Pathetic. You are fucking pathetic. God damn it, man. You know what? I swear, when I made this t-shirt over here, this Uncle Joe's Rainbow Coalition death cult, that wasn't just satire, man. This is literally what it is. They put a bunch of rainbow stickers. They put a bunch of, we support minorities. They give you nice slogans that don't actually translate into anything for those minorities in real life. And then they continue the same class oppression. They continue the same wars. It's nothing changes. This wasn't satire. This is real. This is what it is. It's a fucking death cult in the White House, in the Capitol. And it's just changed mask right now. That's it. That is it. All right. And then they have the nerve to call this defensive. Man, I'm so sick of this. I'm so sick of this. Honestly. Long live the resistance. Tahya al-muqawamah. That's all. That's it. That's all I got to say.